Alright, what you see here is one of my photos that we're going to work on today for this tutorial. So here you see I'm using a CR2, which is basically right here, Canon camera raw. Okay, so when you click on that, you get this. This is called the camera raw window, okay? This is where I always start with my photos. Over here to the right, it tells us we use the f-stop 4, aperture 4, shutter speed 320, ISO 500. We're using a 7200, 70 to 200, at 176 millimeter. So what I'm gonna do here with camera raw, this is CS5 by the way. Camera raw should work in CS5, CS6, CC, Creative Cloud. You know, I believe in Creative Cloud. Camera raw is actually a filter that you could use. So let's get started. So I'm just gonna, I like to use camera raw here as like a good way to adjust lighting, and I like to use some vignetting on a lot of my photos as well. So I do a lot of light adjustments here with the camera raw. Alright, so that should be fun. You have a bunch of tools up here. Tone cover, detail, noise reduction is pretty cool. If you accidentally use too much ISO. So these are all your settings, blah blah blah. Okay, so now I'm gonna hit open image because real basic use of camera raw right there. That's how I usually use it. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna process this photo. So that was the initial process. Now it's opening up into what most people usually are used to. This is like the basic editor now. So what I usually do is we're gonna go ahead and zoom in here, and we are going to use the spot Paintbrush Tool first. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go over like maybe small moles or small blemishes. Try not to do too much craziness and start smudging around stuff, maybe just a tad here and there. When you see a little bit of skin discoloration or a dot from a mole, or maybe somebody's having a bad day with a zit, we pull out the spot healing brush tool here. So while we have this brush out, I might as well show you. I could also use it for something like this. So what I do is I take it and I drag it over the gray hair, and what it does is it magically takes the gray hair, and what it's doing is it's kind of blending it into the background there. So this is an option too that works really well for the gray hair if it tends to be somewhat of an issue. This is a decent way to get rid of it. Now these little hairs right here, that's all natural. I tend not to really mess with that stuff. Everybody's different. If you feel like taking the time out of your life to really get that detailed, go right ahead. For this tutorial, we're gonna leave them though. So just kind of hit the spots that you think might be an issue. So I think we should be alright. I don't think there's much skin showing on her here. What's this? Some kind of... So there's not much discoloration or anything going on. She's got her skin pretty covered. She's got everything. So now we'll go on to step 2. Same little tool area, but now you're going to use the subtool patch patch tool. And what we're going to do is we're going to maybe zoom in a little bit more. And what we're going to do is we're going to take a section of this area here. And if you notice, we're using destination. You see, there's source, destination, and transparent. But I usually keep it on destination. So I'm taking this spot here that I just circled, and I'm dragging it, and I'm going to start covering up those lines there right underneath the eyes. And what I do is I create little shapes just to kind of match the area that I'm trying to work with. So this is called the patch tool. It's really neat. It's a tool like this that would help you, would work really well by covering up hair like this, strands of hair, and blah blah blah. Most of the time it works really well for underneath the eyes on both sides, and I try to use like almost the same spot most of the time because it's pretty clear in this area, and I want to make sure it matches. So if you mess up like that, just redo it. You can get it to where it's gonna fit right in there and soften that area. So now we're kind of done. Like, we might need to do a little bit more. Actually, I'm gonna do some right here, but since we're let's just say you're finished, what you're gonna do is you're gonna double click, and it's gonna take away that, and you can move on to the next. That's gonna be one of those little weird Photoshop things. You're like, well, how do I get out of that? So you just double click anywhere. I usually click on the hair or something. But now I need to continue working, so I'm just going to circle this spot again, and I'm going to move it to this spot right here. Maybe just one more small one, like right in there. That should be good. Alright, so I'm done. So what you got to do is you got to double click to go ahead and get out of that tool. And this is like your home tool pretty much right here. The move tool is kind of like your home tool. I'm using my MacBook Pro, my 2 fingers to slide up and down just to check this out. So yeah, I'm sure you can use your arrow keys. No, I guess not. So I use my 2 fingers. Okay, so we fixed up her eyes a little bit, and we're good to go there. So let's kind of see what happened. Let's see. So what we're gonna do next is we're gonna go right here to background, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna take this layer and we're gonna duplicate it. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna create a mask for that layer. This is the mask right here. Add layer mask. So now you see this part is highlighted right here. You don't want that. You want to actually click back to the main picture. And what we're going to do is we're going to go to filter, and we're going to add, I usually use the Gaussian blur. There's all different kinds of blurs. You want to experiment with them, go right ahead. And what you can see, it's going to blur out the whole picture. So I usually leave it like this, 12.5. But what I do is I go to the opacity over here. Go to the opacity and turn it back down a little bit. Because what we want to do is we want to be able to see with the brush tool here. It's kind of really big, so we're going to use the bracket keys to bracket left to get that a little bit smaller. So what we want to do is we want to see it's highlighted the main picture. What we did was we added the blur there, but we're going to go to the mask now. We're going to click on that. And you got to make sure it's black or this won't work. You got to make sure you're on the black square or this won't work. You'll stain it or something if it's not on the black. If that happens, just Command Option Z will take you back. So let's get started. I have my Paintbrush Tool. Up here you can pick whatever tools, whatever side, whatever mode. You can see my settings are pretty basic. So what I'm doing here is I'm going to start removing the blur from the areas that I want to be sharp, which of course in the eyes, and the eyebrows, ellipse. So this is basically the tutorial that we're doing now, is like kind of like an overall total like process that we're gonna do to give the picture an overall touched up kind of brilliant look or whatnot. So what we're gonna do is continue with this option. So what you want to do is kind of get like a little bit of the edges here. That way it gives it kind of like a realistic vision kind of to the eye. And then right here too, I find like it works really well right in that area. See, it kind of looks like I messed up there, so I'm gonna hit Command Option Z. See that? So we're gonna leave that there for now. We'll come back to it if we have to. But what we're gonna do is we're gonna zoom back out, and I'm gonna go ahead and make this brush larger. And what I'm gonna do is go ahead and start getting rid of the blur all around, because what we did is we added the mask. We're gonna keep that mask basically on our skin to give it like that soft appearance. So we're gonna go ahead and remove the rest of the blur from the rest of the picture. So as you see, if you let go and stop doing it, as you see over here to the right, you can see the black part is like the part that you're actually getting rid of. So you can zoom back out, make your brush bigger, take some bigger chunks of blur out so you can go ahead and work faster. Everybody's different. You might want to keep blur certain areas. I like to remove the blur for the most part. I already have an in-camera bokeh going on with within the photo, so I like to make it large like this. Pull the window open and make sure you get the blur from all the way around the edges. As you can see over here, you almost got most of it out. You have the blur on her face. You could tell the mask is still just a tiny bit thick. What you want to do is just turn the opacity down just slightly. That's pretty good for the opacity on the. See, what we're doing is we're putting the opacity on the mask. You turn the opacity up all the way, mask gets really blurry up in there, takes away some sharpness. So you want to have the mask but still retain that sharpness and still retain that. It's like an even kill between all of them. Sharpness, softness. Alright, so some people like to keep all their layers. I like to flatten mine. So what you do is you go here, hit flatten image. Now you're back to the image. You have your mask and everything going on. We're almost done with this basic process. I'm going to zoom back in, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch to this tool here, which is the dodge tool, burn tool, and sponge tool. Now the dodge tool brightens it, the burn tool darkens it. So what I'm going to do is take the dodge tool. Once again, you have the circle. What I want to do is I want to brighten up the pupils. So what I do is I click a couple times on there, and what I want to do is brighten up the teeth. So I drag a little bit across there, and we have a brighter teeth and brighter eyes now added to the photo there, just a little bit. So as you can see, it's still the same layer. Some people like to duplicate layer and work on it because they don't want to mess up. If you mess up, you can go back plenty of times. Just hit Command Option Z. Command Z goes back like 1 or 2 steps. Command Option Z will take you back like 15 steps. So that's what you need to use if you're not aware of that yet. So this little dot right here is kind of bothering me, so I'm going to go back to the healing brush tool again. It's like a little white dot right there. It's just in the black, so I'm gonna get rid of that and that one there. That should be good. Now, since I'm here, I'm gonna zoom in and kind of look around for some spots and see if there's anything else that would bother me. So everything looks fairly good. We're pretty much almost done with this picture as far as like a real basic photo edit using a couple of the main tools that I wanted to show you how easy and how quick they are to switch from. And as long as you're able to capture decent photo and you're able to use camera raw. So we're just about done here. I may want to add like a slight level and adjustment to it, just like barely, just like that much. What was that, like just a tad? So I'm just gonna flatten image there. And one last final thing I usually do to all my photos before I finally complete them: smart sharpen them. Give it that last final touch of brilliance. Amount 96, radius 8.6, Gaussian blur removed, default, basic, preview. If you want to preview it and then look at it with, that's what you do there. You turn it up too high, it might get too sharp. Turn it too low, not sharp enough. So every photo is different. You're gonna want to play with it. So hit OK here. Smart sharpens can go ahead and process pretty quickly now here. And we're just about done with this photo. Nice and neat photo. Bright eyes, soft skin, red lips. Just a few touch-ups. The smart sharpen usually doesn't take that long, but I guess it decided to today. Alright, so when I shoot in camera raw, I shoot with my 7D, so the image are, and I usually shoot at highest quality, so the images are pretty large. So I'm gonna go in here and I'm gonna do 300 resolution, and I use my basic numbering system. 3260 is my number. That's what I do to my photos. You can see that it doesn't really change much, but you know, maybe you have a system that works for you too. So everybody's got their own style and their own ways of doing things. Save as, you can adjust your JPEG style. Save as for regular. Now I do a lot of save for the web and devices, as I promote on the web a lot through Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram and everything else. So I like to save for web and devices. Whatever this says, image increase, whatever it is, just ignore it. Just, are you sure you want to continue? Of course I do. So of course I'm saving to JPEG, maximum quality 100. Image size is what I put it to. So it's still clocking out right now, so still loading up. Finally done. So as you can see, it's going to be a 9.885 megs. So I'm just going to hit save. That's usually fine unless you have to post like a super small picture. So desktop, computer's running super slow, man. I think I need to restart it or something. So I got my desktop stuff, and I believe I already have Rita's finals right here, and what I need to do is add it to her finals. So we're gonna go ahead and name it 33. So that's pretty much it. I just wanted to give you an idea of how to work with CR2, Camera Raw, and just a few of the basic tools that you're able to use when you're processing a photo and getting it all cleaned up and sharpened up to maybe display on Facebook or Twitter or on your own personal website. Alright, thanks a lot. Y'all enjoy, and stay tuned for some more tutorials.